Melbourne Vixens and the Northern Mystics are proving to be the frontrunners of the 2012 ANZ Championship, both still undefeated and flying the flags for their respective countries. The Queensland Firebirds and the New South Wales Swifts are now on the board, but the Magic from New Zealand still winless after 3 rounds of the ANZ Championship. As I say hello and welcome to Centre Pass, the official video podcast of the ANZ Championship. Dan Ryan here alongside Sharelle McMahon. And Sharelle, what another great round of ANZ Championship netball.
Yeah, and it's been a great start to the season, really. I've loved how, a few teams have started a bit slowly, but they're maybe starting to find some form, and really it's anyone's game still for the final series, and that doesn't always happen because sometimes you see some standout teams early, but yeah, it's great start.
Really interesting start to this competition. Let's have a look at all the results from round 3 of the ANZ Champs, and it kicked off on Sunday with the Queensland Firebirds demoralising the Central Pulse 58-32 in Brisbane. The Melbourne Vixens had a terrific victory over the Adelaide Thunderbirds in Adelaide, 48-34. The Southern Steel 2-goal winners against the Canterbury Tactics. The Northern Mystics on Monday night getting over the top of the West Coast Fever by 7 goals. And then on Monday night, rounding out round 3, the New South Wales Swifts recording their first victory of the season, 49-goal winners over the Magic 47. Sharelle, let's have a look first at the Firebirds Pulse game, a 26-goal victory for the Firebirds in what was a must-win match for the Queenslanders.
Yeah, it really was, and I guess not a huge surprise that the Pulse have come over to Australia and not being able to get up against the Firebirds. I kind of had a feeling that the Firebirds were just really starting to build into this, and yeah, it took a little longer for them to get their first win, but perhaps just hitting a little bit of form now.
Natalie Medhurst was a key performer for the Queensland Firebirds. She scored 13 goals in round 1. She scored only 10 in round 2, but posted 20 from 22 this weekend and did a terrific job for the Firebirds up front.
Yeah, and I love Nat Medhurst and the way she's just so brutally honest. I read a blog that she had done during the week, and really honest assessment of the team's performance and particularly her own performance. She wasn't happy with it at all, and she's obviously come out and responded to that, and really nice kind of work between Geitz and Steele at the back too. I think that combination, which has maybe been a little bit off at the start of the season, starting to come together.
The Central Pulse attack line was reasonably woeful, with no disrespect to them, but they really struggled against the Queensland defence, and Caitlin Thwaites was forced to have to get out of the circle and find her own ball, which you don't want a spearhead goaler doing that. The Pulse defence line got enough ball to have opportunities, but they just couldn't capitalise in that forward line. Yeah,
that's right, and Caitlin was obviously doing a lot of work to get the ball in there, and that's obviously something that the Pulse are going to have to look at working on. I know that the Firebirds would have been really focusing on that pressure out the front to limit that feed into a really great target like Caitlin Thwaites, and I guess a lot of teams will be doing that against the Pulse, so they've probably got to look at strategies to get around that.
So 26-goal winners for the Queensland Firebirds are on the board after round 3 of the ANZ Champs. Sharelle, a huge game on Sunday as well was in Adelaide. The Adelaide Thunderbirds up against the Melbourne Vixens, and the Melbourne Vixens clearly did their homework on the Thunderbirds and did a terrific job in shutting down their key players, and what a result for them.
Yeah, look, it was the top of the table clash, really fighting it out almost for top position, and it was a tough game. Even though the scoreline kind of blew out a little bit, it was still a tough game, but the Vixens really did shut the flow of the Thunderbirds down very well. There was some, in the early part of the season, some great connections into Carla Borrego through Emily Beaton and Natalie Von Berto, and even Erin Bell getting that ball in there nice and quickly, but the Vixens really shut that down out the front very nicely.
The Vixens kept the Thunderbirds to 34 goals, which is the Thunderbirds' lowest score in the history of the ANZ Champs against the Vixens, so a wonderful defensive effort. Speaking of defensive efforts, Jiva Mentor 4 intercepts and kept Carla Borrego, who was the most prolific goal scorer coming into this round, to just 20 goals, which is a pretty remarkable effort.
It is, and look, the Vixens' defensive lineup is just getting stronger and stronger. There's a lot of flexibility there, but I loved the battle between Chelsea Tregear and Natalie Von Berto. Natalie, arguably the best centre in the world, and Chelsea kind of new into that centre position, but it was a great contest, and if they didn't come out with Chelsea just on top, it was certainly only even. It was a really great contest, and I think that was a really pivotal point for the Vixens.
Another key player for the Melbourne Vixens was Tegan Caldwell. Of course, it seems so long ago that she was benched against the Firebirds in round 1, but obviously she's filling the shoes that have been left by yourself, and you're a great goal attack, Sharelle. You'd obviously
thanks, Dan.
You'd obviously be warming your heart watching Tegan go so well. And 23 from 24, she missed her first goal of the match deep into the third quarter, but she put together a terrific performance.
She did, and Tegan just looks like she's growing each match, and I'm really liking watching the combination with her and Kate Beveridge. It's coming along really nicely. Kate under the post, getting stronger on her holds and being a really great focal point there. And Tegan just seems to be working the space around her very well.
Fair to say the Vixens probably had one of the toughest starts of the season, 3 games on the roads, and they've got 3 victories. So full credit to the Melbourne Vixens on a fantastic start to this season. Quickly, Sherelle will have a look at the New South Wales Swifts against the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic. Both teams entering the match without a victory, but it was the New South Wales Swifts by 2 goals in the end.
Yeah, it was, and who would have thought at the start of the season that the Magic, after 3 rounds, would be sitting winless? It's just unbelievable, really, and had obviously a look at this match, and they seem to be starting to get going, but can't seem to finish it off. The Magic there, the feeds going into Irene Van Dyke just don't seem to have that same kind of connection that we've seen in other years.
It's outstanding to me to watch the Magic play. They've got 4 Silver Ferns in their starting lineup, and these are 4 starting players for the Silver Ferns. They should be at least 2 wins from 3 starts, but they're going to enter round 4 under so much pressure. It's a really bizarre position for this team to be in.
Yeah, it is, and you know they do have such a huge amount of talent within that team, but sometimes it takes more than that. And the Swiss, to their credit, got their first win on the board for the season, which is a great win for them, and maybe start to build some things. I think those combinations are kind of starting to come together. There's a few new ones in there.
Well, let's have a look at the competition ladder after round 3, and it is the Melbourne Vixens, the 2009 premiers, on top of the table with the Northern Mystics, both still undefeated. The Adelaide Thunderbirds in 3rd place, and the Southern Steel from New Zealand. I'm sure not many people would have predicted seeing them up in the top 4 at this stage of the competition. Well done to them. The Firebirds just outside in 5th, and down in 10th place is the Magic with no wins from 3 starts. Sherelle, who is your performer of the week for round 3 of the ANZ Champs?
Well, my performer of the week is Anna Harrison, and when I was looking through the stats sheets, I thought, Anna Harrison, who's that? And I realised it was Anna Scarlett. She was married on Friday, so only a few days before the game, and she went out and had a great contest against Catherine Cox against the Fever when the Mystics played them over there, and kept Catherine Cox really reasonably quiet throughout that match. And I just thought that was a great effort to be spending her honeymoon with the girls on the netball court. Why not?
Not bad. Well, my performance of the week actually goes to the Vixens mid-court pairing of Chelsea Tregear and Madison Brown. I think together they've been absolutely seamless in what they've done and have operated so efficiently. I think Madison Brown is absolutely dominating the assist stats, which is one of the main things that is giving these Vixens goalers so many scoring opportunities. And Chelsea Tregear, probably one of the most underrated, unassuming players in the competition, hasn't put a foot wrong, in the best shape of her life, and absolutely doing a great number in centre. Okay, we're now going to have a look at all the games for round 4 of the ANZ Championship. This is the draw as it comes together. The Southern Steel will take on the West Coast Fever in Dunedin on Saturday afternoon. The Vixens host their first home game against the Magic on Sunday in Melbourne. The Swifts and the Firebirds will take on each other in Sydney. The Mystics hosting the Thunderbirds in Auckland, and then the Central Pulse and the Canterbury Tactics will play on Monday night. Sherelle, a really important game on Saturday afternoon will be the Steel up against the West Coast Fever. It's the West Coast Fever's second match in New Zealand, and a big ask against the Steel in Dunedin.
Yeah, it is, and the Fever have actually stayed over in New Zealand. They played their match against the Mystics over there and have spent the week over there training and preparing for this match. So, as you mentioned, though, Steel up in the top 4. I would not have predicted that, and I don't think many people would have. They've had just a brilliant start to this season, and it's going to be a tough one for the Fever.
Well, the West Coast Fever against the Northern Mystics had the highest penalty count in any match in the history of the ANZ Champs since 2008. Norma Plummer was absolutely furious with the umpiring in terms of that high penalty count. They're going to probably face the same issue when they come up against the Steel, because again, it is a clash in New Zealand, and Australians do tend to get more penalised when they cross the ditch.
Well, it's an interesting one, this issue about umpires. I mean, we've seen it right throughout the ANZ Championship, right since its inception, really, that the teams kind of struggle to adjust sometimes to the different umpiring techniques. So that will be a huge challenge for the Fever over there, and with the highest penalty count ever recorded, they will have to adjust.
Another player that may need to adjust a little bit is Catherine Cox. She's been outstanding in terms of her court work, her delivery of the ball to Caitlin Thwaite. She is the captain, but her shooting at this stage in all honesty, isn't good enough for this level at the moment.
Yeah, Catherine Cox is an interesting one. I think she's just still working on trying to find what her role is within that side, with Caitlin Bassett being the real target and spearhead shooter. So, yeah, need a bit of a lift from Coxie.
Big game on Sunday will be the Vixens and the Magic. Not so important for the Vixens to win. They'll obviously love to do it, but they've put themselves in a good position after 3 rounds. But this game for the Waikato Bay Plenty Magic, although it's only round 4, absolutely season defining. They lose and that could be their season.
Well, it really could, and what a tough one for that to be against the Vixens, undefeated in some great form, their first home match of the season. I can tell you they're looking forward to it, the home crowd in Melbourne, and the Vixens girls really looking forward to that first home game. It's a really tough one for the Magic, coming up against what is probably the toughest defensive lineup we've seen so far.
Another big game will be played in Auckland, the Northern Mystics hosting the Adelaide Thunderbirds. The Northern Mystics, a formidable outfit when they're in Auckland. The Thunderbirds will want to bounce back from that poor showing against the Vixens. This should be a really interesting clash.
I can't wait for this one. I think that this is going to be the best game of the round, really. I think the Thunderbirds, coming off that loss against the Vixens, will be smarting and wanting to fix that up, and the Mystics just absolutely outstanding play and so much depth down within their group.
Yeah, well, we saw against the Fever, they were able to rest or not have in their starting lineup Jade Clark, who's the English captain in their import. Charlotte Kite was there as well, and they still have the luxury of being able to bench Maria Tutaya if she's not on song, and Grace Rasmussen steps into that goal attack role.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary actually, the depth that the Mystics have on their bench for the opposition teams, but just brilliant to watch, and that ability to change things up, to create some different variation, is extremely difficult to contend with. So it'll be a great game.
All right, Sherelle, time to put each other on the spot. It is down to our tipping competition now. You're leading it by 1 at the moment, 10 to 11, but I'm hoping to claw a few back in the rounds to come. Who are your tips for round 4 of the ANZ Champs?
Okay, my tips are the Steel, the Vixens, the Firebirds, the Mystics, and the Pulse. So mainly home teams for me this week.
Well, Sherelle, you're a pretty smart girl. I'm backing all 5 teams as well, so good job by you, although it may mean if we all get them right, you'll still be 1 ahead, so plenty of time to catch up later in the competition, there's no doubt about that. Well, that's about it for another edition of Centre Pass. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed today's show. Make sure you jump onto the ANZ Champs website and also Twitter and follow both Sherelle and I, and also the ANZ Champs. Don't forget the 10 Sport website for all your latest netball news and opinion columns. Lots of video content there as well. San Remo Fantasy Netball is there, and also the Sky Sport website in New Zealand. Check your local guides for all of the broadcast details for round 4 of the ANZ Championship. We'll catch you next week on Centre Pass. Goodbye for now. Thank you to our sponsors, our principal sponsor,
Associate sponsors,
support sponsors and suppliers,
and broadcast partners.